What's going on, guys? So as 2019 ends, I wanted to take the time to talk about all the content we had in 2019. And while I sit here and fish and get my AFK rewards, I want to sit here and reflect on whether or not it's a good year for Blade and Soul, kind of the pros and cons. And luckily, we have this really great Reddit post on the Blade and Soul Reddit that kind of highlighted all the changes of 2019, all the new content we got in a nice little post, and I want to kind of cover it, read through it, discuss my thoughts, and then of course see what you guys think about it in the comments below. Also, I will be skipping around a little bit just because I want to highlight some of the important changes. Not everything on here I want to highlight just because I don't want to make the video 20 minutes long. But first thing we'll talk about is the Trove. He mentions how we got 4 Troves in this whole year. Of course, we get one in spring, summer, fall, and winter, 4 times a year. And then we also got some new RNG boxes, and he kind of mentions how he feels like the Trove hasn't been that good compared to previous years. And I will agree with this. I feel like the Troves have been way worse. The RNG has been worse, especially the winter Trove. It was like really terrible. I feel like most people didn't get that much good stuff from it. I don't know if that's just purely off RNG and that's how RNG works, or NCSoft is deliberately making the Trove worse on the chances of the items, because we don't know. We don't know if a premium transformation stone you get from there has a 10% chance to drop or a 0.01% chance. Like, we don't know because they don't release the drop chances from the Trove. So we never know if they actually nerfed it or it's just bad RNG for everyone. But personally, it has been getting worse, and that's really fine by me because it just gives me more incentive to not want to spend money on the Trove. Now, since Trove is only a seasonal type thing, NCSoft has been putting Trove-like RNG boxes into the game. Especially this year, they've been adding a lot of them just to kind of milk whales extra because they want to have something that kind of is similar to Trove but not piss off everyone by making Trove like a permanent thing all year long. So what they do is they do something like the Hanso Treasure Draw, which is something like a mobile gacha type system. I remember I played Tales of Wind, which is like a mobile game. I quit it within like a couple of days because the pay to win in that game, it makes Blade and Soul look like a free-to-play, non-pay-to-win game because it's crazy in that mobile game. And people spend thousands of dollars on it. And they had a Hanso Treasure Draw type system in their game. So seeing it come to the West really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, it shouldn't belong in a PC game, these type of cash shop RNG boxes. I just don't like seeing them. And I get we have the Trove, but I feel like that's as far as it should go. You shouldn't have in the off season all these other RNG boxes. It's just a little bit too much in my opinion. I do unfortunately believe they're going to keep adding more and more, especially in 2020. I just see for the 4th anniversary of Blade and Soul, them adding an RNG bots. I definitely think that will be coming, and more to come for this whole year, unfortunately. Now, the next thing they're talking about is more buds in the game. I have to agree with this. There is so many buds in Blade and Soul, and it seems like every patch they introduce new ones, or they reintroduce ones that they fix, like the High Twig Bud Bomb. I remember they fixed that one like way back a couple years ago, and then with a new patch they put out, they actually reintroduced it, and it still hasn't been fixed. So it's like, I don't know what they're doing, but maybe they're just waiting for Unreal Engine 4 to fix all the buds, I hope. But there's so many in the game right now, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, for example, in ET Boss 1, this is a brand new endgame raid, and it has multiple buds that are actually making the boss unplayable. Like, one time I was doing my weekly raid of it, and the boss actually got stuck on the wall at 3%, and we couldn't target it, so we had to actually reset the fight. And those type of things are so frustrating. Another one is the boss went completely invisible on me. I actually posted it on the Blade and Soul Reddit a couple months ago, where I literally couldn't see the boss. He was invisible, and like, I couldn't target him, I couldn't find him. I was just like standing there like, what the hell just happened? And these buds, in my opinion, are unacceptable, especially for an endgame raid. Like, if the newest content, supposed to be the hardest content in the game, has multiple buds in it, it just really makes the game feel unprofessional, and it feels like it's ran by a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing. Again, maybe they feel like, okay, we have a bunch of buds in the game, and we'll put out Unreal Engine 4, and we'll just fix all the buds with the new engine. Maybe that's their plan, but there are so many buds, and they need to be addressed very soon because it's just really frustrating. It's just like, why am I spending money on this game if you can't even fix buds for a raid that I'm trying to do? And it really impacts the raid. It's not like it's a bud that just doesn't matter. It's ones that can make you wipe the whole run that you did. Like, it's just ridiculous. So these buds need to be addressed. I hope they fix them. They need to work on that. Another one he talks about is additional FPS and MS problems. This is very true. I remember when Blade Master Thirstbet came out, the FPS drops with playing that class is ridiculous. Like, I know so many people that have to use Blade and Soul Buddy, the add-on for the game, just because if they don't, they can't even play their Blade Master third spec. It's completely unplayable with the particle effects and everything. And I remember there was such a loud outcry from the community because it was so unplayable that actually NCSoft did implement some little small performance changes that made the class a little bit more playable, but you'll still have people like my main take in ET Raid who will get like 8 FPS in a fight, and it's just really terrible. So performances has been getting a lot worse with the game in general too, and that's why you see a lot of people who have been really advocating for Unreal Engine 4, because we're just like, it feels like it's getting worse. Like if you go to Mushin's Tower, if you even go to like fishing, like in Moon Refuge, I went to fishing and I had characters on, right? And the FPS was like down to like 5. Like it was so bad. I was just like, this is terrible, and this is why everyone's been rushing NCSoft. Like, where is Unreal Engine 4? Because it feel like it's getting worse performance with the game every year, and it's getting really bad. So the performance has been getting worse, and I really hope that they do fix it. Unreal Engine 4, where is it at? We also got a bunch of new stuff in 2019, like the progression systems, like the pet gems, soul shield psyches, and even the Unity system. I feel like for Unity, honestly, I don't even really think about it. I just kind of log in and do the usual stuff I always do, and I feel like that's how most players are. Like every once in a while I get a new Unity rank, I'm like, oh cool, I got Unity 76 now, that's cool I guess, but I'm not actively like, oh, how can I increase my Unity, or how can I get more Unity stones? Like for me personally, I don't think about that. I feel like the casual player doesn't even really care about the Unity system. I feel like it's more of like an endgame whale type thing, where if you want to spend thousands of dollars on the Trove to get a legendary stone, you can, and that's why NCSoft added it. But I feel like most people don't really care about it in general, just because it's there passively and you just do your usual daily stuff and you get ranked up from it. And pet gems and social psyches are, again, just really whale type things. Like I don't really know too many people that even have social psyches. They're so expensive and they're not even really that impactful. Like the stats that you gain from them are not really huge, so most people don't care about them at all. The pet gems are decently good. The extra AP is certainly pretty nice, but because gem fragments are so damn expensive on the marketplace right now, and you have the Oblivion coins, which you can only get from a weekly limit unless you buy resets, you're not going to really get the pet gems anytime soon. So again, I feel like most people don't really care about them. Now this next one is probably one of the worst things that happened in 2019 with Blade Soul. This one was really bad, and it was all summed up to be because of miscommunication. I think most of you guys probably remember, but the whole white orb fiasco that I made that video on, it still pisses me off to this day. So if you're not aware, basically what happened is that originally we had white orbs and demon spirit stones, and then we got the new version, which is the whole orb of ascension and the lesser demon spirit stones that we have now. So right before that patch became live, a lot of people were really worried because they're like, what's going to happen to my white orb and my demon spirit stones since you guys are changing them to these new versions? A really valid question. So someone actually asked Bladesoul on their Twitter page, and Bladesoul responded, and they basically were like, oh, it's all good, man. You just have to hold on to them because they're going to antique into the new ones. So just relax. You don't have to worry about trying to sell them or do anything. Stock up on those white orbs. Your demon spirit stones, they're all safe. You'll just get the new ones. Don't worry. Well, guess what? The patch became live and people couldn't transfer them over to the new ones. So all you could do with them is actually sell them for about 50 copper in the Dragon Express. So really great deal on that one, NCSoft. You basically screwed over every player in the game. And what was NCSoft's response after basically screwing over players out of thousands of gold and materials and basically lying straight to our faces? Well, they put up a forum post and they said, hey guys, it just was some miscommunication from the Korean devs. And yeah, that was basically the end of that story. So didn't get anything from it, didn't get any type of compensation or anything. Yeah, that was a really bad patch. That was a really bad time, and community was really pissed off, and there still are a lot of people who quit and haven't came back from that. I don't really blame them. Can't trust NCSoft. We also got talisman and heart cost reductions. Now this is something that is one of the biggest complaints I have, is that now when they add new tiers to like a heart or some type of equipment item, they don't actually nerf the previous tiers. They just kind of rebalance them. That's their new word. They rebalance it. But what they would do in the past is, let's say they add like a new soul tier. Well, they would make all the previous tiers way cheaper, and that would be really helpful for new players. So instead, now what they do is they'll add like a new tier, like the True Majestic card, and in the previous tiers, they'll nerf some of the stuff, but then they add a bunch of materials you didn't need before, which usually makes it more expensive. Like, for example, one of the stages, it used to cost like 3 sacred vials, and now it costs us only 1. That's great, right? But then they added like 2 premium transformation stones and like 5 transformation stones and like a bunch of new materials you need. And it's just like a lot of times, depending on the marketplace, it actually makes it more expensive than before. This whole thing they started last year with rebalancing now instead of actually nerfing the previous tiers, I'm really not happy about that. I wish they would go back to the old versions, because before it used to be really great for everyone. Now, a lot of times it's more expensive, so not great at all. Next thing they talked about, which we all know about this one, when they introduced the easy mode, and was it really easy mode? In fact, a lot of the dungeons were actually harder. Myself, Trope, Evil Does Harm, EchoGen, everyone made videos on this, and got covered really heavily because community was really pissed off. It was a really bad patch, and it was really unfortunate because it was the Archer patch in September, so it brought in a lot of new players, but everyone dipped out real quick because that patch was a buggy mess. It was terrible. Like, they introduced the easy mode, but a lot of these dungeons still wiped, even though they weren't supposed to in easy mode. It later got fixed, which was great, but the damage was already done. It really hurt the player base a lot. A lot of people dipped out real quick. They're just like, this is just ridiculous. Like, how do you guys mess up your biggest patch of the year with the Archer and put out this broken dungeon thing where the dungeons don't even work? It was a really bad patch. So yeah, that was really bad. That was in September. And then we also got like the weapon cost reductions to like Aranzu and all the stages, and they actually turned out to be cost increases because they added a bunch of new materials. Again, rebalancing instead of actually nerfing. So I really feel like that's kind of the story of Blade and Soul, where like they have a bunch of really great content they introduced. Like last year, there was some great content, some new dungeons that I thought were fun. I like Cathedral Cliffs. I like the Archer class. I think it's a great class to play, even though it might be a little overtuned. The DPS is pretty damn high on that class, that's for sure. The content overall wasn't too bad, but the problem is the execution from NCSoft and NC West is not good. They introduce a lot of buds. They miscommunicate with the player base. They do a lot of changes that we don't ask for. They mess up weapon cost reductions. They'll put out a Google Doc sheet on the patch notes, and then you actually log into the game as completely different from what the Google Doc sheet says, which in reality, the whole point of the sheet is to give you an idea of what the game is going to look like when you log into it, and they can't even get that right. There's a lot of issues that they do, and that's really why I feel like the player base is so dwindled over the years, because you can only piss off people so much before they're just like, you know what, I'm not dealing with this crap anymore. Especially when you're spending money on the game. You expect to be treated pretty fairly, not be screwed over time and time again from the developers. And I don't know if that's only NC West, only NCSoft. I don't know who's to blame, but it's definitely those two that you can point your fingers at. But anyways, that's really my thoughts. Overall, this last year, it wasn't really good, honestly. It's just too many buggy patches, too many bad things. Content was decent, but yeah, not a very good year, just being brutally honest. I hope 2020 is a better year. I hope we get Unreal Engine 4 and get better content. I hope the devs communicate better. But yeah, guys, that's really it. I will leave a link in the description below. You can check out this Reddit post yourself. I think it was definitely well done. A lot of highlighted points that I do agree with. Honestly, reading this made me kind of sad because this last year wasn't very good. There's a lot of really bad patches from NCSoft. But yeah, anyways, that's just my thoughts. Let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments below. Definitely leave a comment saying what some of the things you did like from last year, and then also maybe some of the things you didn't like, because I do want some positivity, because last year wasn't terrible, but yeah, there was a lot of bad things that changed to the game, and definitely hurt the player base a lot. Anyways, let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments below. If you watched the whole video, I definitely do appreciate it. I like doing these type of videos where we kind of take a moment, talk about some of the stuff going on, and reflect on the year before. I'll probably do this for 2020. Hopefully it's a way more positive video. Appreciate you guys a lot. Sub to the channel, like the video. I'll be out with new content very soon, and I'm out.